Hello, everyone. My name is Laurel Doyle. I'll be your professor for ECE 320 Curriculum and Interactions with Young Children. A couple things I wanted to point out. This is the homepage of our Canvas shell. The Zoom link for our class meeting, our required class meeting every Tuesday at 6 p.m. is right here. You can go ahead and click on that. There's no password. You can just go right on in. And then just kind of a little preview on the homepage. There will be links each week to the different modules. However, week one is locked until you go through some other criteria. And I wanted to point out down below, we are going to have some additional members within our class. So in addition to having our wonderful students, myself, we'll also have a few peer educators who are students who have passed our practicum course and have really stood out as really reflective partners. So they will be embedded within our Zoom sessions. So we'll be working together, maybe do a whole class and then go off into small groups where you'll be in the same small group with one of the peer educators throughout the semester. And we also have wonderful mentor teachers at our CRC Child Development Center. There may even be an opportunity where one of them comes to one of our classes, or we see videos of some of our amazing mentor teachers at the Child Development Center. So all of their information is listed on our homepage if you need to get in contact with anyone. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a tutorial on what you might expect on Saturday, January 14th, when you open up our course. First thing is you'll notice that the modules are all locked. That means that you need to go in order. So you'll start with the assumption of risk waiver. Very first thing, everyone must do that. Then you'll go move to the prerequisite and co-requisite drop box. There are only a few students who I actually need prerequisites or their co-requisite from. So if you can't see anything here, I don't need anything from you. I have listed only those students who I need that information, and it's their names are listed here, and I've also reached out via email. If you don't provide your pre and co-requisites by Tuesday, I will unfortunately, actually by Friday, January 20th, I will unfortunately need to drop you from the course so we can potentially get other classmates in who are qualified to be within the class. All right, then before you can go to Module 1, you must go through every single page of our course syllabus information. That's because there's so much important information within the syllabus. I want to make sure you get through everything, and you'll actually have to mark that you have read each one. A couple of the important ones are talking about lab hours. So in addition to our lecture, our class, which is probably what you've dealt with before, where you have maybe a class Zoom session plus class assignments. So in addition to those two, within this course, you'll also be completing 105 lab hours. Now, only the first 2 weeks are the lab hours online. After that, we'll be placing you in person with young children, and you'll have an opportunity to learn under a mentor teacher. You'll be learning about many good interactions within the class, and then you'll be able to apply those with young children. It's a really wonderful class in that you learn so much. It can feel like, a lot. Like here you have 7 hours a week, plus our online assignments, plus our class meetings, but it's a small group and we really work together, and I think you'll really enjoy this class. So definitely read up on, your lab hours, the lab grading, what's kind of expected of students. And then you'll have the opportunity to either be placed at Cosumnes River College's Child Development Center. This is what is highly recommended of all students because the mentor teachers know all of our assignments. They have wonderful practices, and they're really good at helping students think reflectively and applying what they're learning in class to the real world. Those of you who are working at a paid or have a paid position at an early learning center might be able to use their lab placement, might be able to use that as their lab placement site. And there is a whole process of that. So go ahead, read through everything on this before you can then open up your practicum, Module 1 practicum orientation. So just kind of to make it a little easier, we're not doing reading assignments this week because I feel like the syllabus was a major reading assignment. Instead, you're going to just jump right into the assignments. So again, we have 3 parts. Part 1 is your online lab hours. This week 1 and week 2, there will be online lab hours. After that, they'll be in person out 7 hours. So all of you have already signed the assumption of risk waiver to even get to this point. Then you'll also need to provide proof of certain immunizations. Now, this is California law, title number 22. It requires that anyone who's working with young children has certain immunizations, and they can provide those. So these need to be up front in center at the Child Development Center. Site supervisor needs to have these on hand in case the licensing comes in. So you will not be allowed to go and work with young children at our Child Development Center until you provide proof of your immunizations. Now, because you're going to also be, if those of you who are working somewhere, if maybe you're applying, if you want to use that as your work site, you still need to provide new proof of your immunizations, because what if your work site doesn't work out? You'll need to start week 3 going full all the way in and already have your vaccination records on hand with me so we can move forward. So you'll upload your proof of measles here. If you're looking at your immunization records, likely that will be under a combination vaccine called MMR. It stands for measles, mumps, and rubella. We just need measles, but we need to show proof of that here. Now, some of you may have lost your immunization records. You're not able to, contact that doctor anymore. Maybe they're out of country. What you can do is request from your primary care physician to have a blood titer test where they draw your blood and they test it to see if you have immunization to measles. So you'll just take a picture and upload it here. The next vaccine that you'll need to upload is pertussis. Pertussis is also called whooping cough, and it's infants and toddlers are particularly vulnerable to pertussis. So Title 22 requires pertussis. However, it doesn't require an up-to-date version of pertussis. So even if you have, you've completed your series as a young child, maybe you're older, the pertussis vaccine wears off at around 10 years, every 10 years, but Title 22 does not require that booster shot. But if you would like to perhaps get one just for yourself, that's something to talk about with your primary care physician. So just provide proof that you have had your first series of pertussis. Next and final thing that we need proof of is tuberculosis clearance. So this must be within 1 year. That's 1 year of this semester's end. So say you got it, you had yourself tested last January at this time, you'll need to do it again because you'll still be working in May, and that'll be over a year. So Title 22 also requires any person working directly with young children provide their TB clearance. So what is TB clearance? Those of you who have never worked with young children before, it is typically a skin prick test where you'll need to contact your primary care physician. You'll schedule 2 appointments, likely with the nurse. The first one, they just administer a very small amount of, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's not tuberculosis. They're not injecting you with tuberculosis, but they're just trying to see if maybe you have a reaction. You'll go back in 2 to 3 days. They'll look if you have a very large bump, then they'll maybe do further examination. If not, they just write you a note, and you'll need to have one cleared within 1 year. Now, if you're pregnant, it is not recommended you get the skin test. If that's the case, go ahead and contact your primary care physician, explain, I am pregnant, but this is being required of me. Can we have a physical examination? And you can submit a letter written by your doctor stating that you are not presenting with symptoms of tuberculosis. Now, some of you may be a little bit confused while we're talking about tuberculosis skin test. And that might be because you grew up in another country where you might have had a tuberculosis vaccination. We don't have, it's not common practice to vaccinate for tuberculosis in the United States, although it is somewhat coming on the rise, but not really. Anyhow, you maybe, if you have been vaccinated in the past, the skin prick test may show a false positive, in which case you might need to go ahead and contact your primary care physician and schedule a physical examination just so they can check you over and write a letter stating that you don't have any symptoms. All right, and then the next few things I want to go over, you'll complete this 1 hour survey. Basically, I really do want you to read through the community agreements because it really sets you up for kind of what to expect within the class, the environment, kind of the vibe that you're signing up for. And then you'll just kind of click agree. If you disagree, please specify why. And then there are 2 more online lab hours, and they both revolve around placement of the lab. So the first one is stating, at the Child Development Center, this is where you want to be placed at. I would like you to specify a minimum of 3-day times that you can do. So it might be every Monday and Wednesday from 8:30 to 12. It might be every Monday and Wednesday from 12:30 to 4, and every Tuesday, Thursday from 10:30 to 2. At least 3 of them. If you have more availability in your schedule, go ahead and list them, and you can do like preference 1, this, preference 2, preference 3, preference 4, and so on. I need to have as much flexibility as possible because, again, we have 2 practicums in our Child Development Center. We only have 3 classrooms, so we really need to even out the number of students. Those of you who are working may need to take, well, you will need to take time off work to come to the Child Development Center. So maybe talk with your employers in advance about, like, what if I do it at the end of the day or at the beginning, and really talk with them and see what's possible. But keep in mind that whatever time you can commit to, that you've arrived 10 minutes early to sign in, and you're actually on the floor by whatever time you are assigned. So this is for the Child Development Center. I would like everyone to go ahead and complete this, even if you're applying to your work site. And that's because maybe your work site doesn't pass for whatever reason, then we can hit the ball running and, like, okay, here's your time at the Child Development Center. And then the last online lab hour for this week will be, it's another quiz or survey where you either state, no, I'm going to go to the Child Development Center, or yes, I would like to apply. So you'll go ahead and click that, you'll submit it, and then you'll come back and fill out a worksite application. So this is where you'll list your name, the name of the Early Learning Center. You'll list all of the information here. All of the requirements are listed here. They are listed. Some of them are listed as yes and no. If it's yes and no, the yes is required. So if you're not a paid employee, the site will not work. Go ahead and go back to your survey and change, no, I'm going to the Child Development Center. There is no wiggle room with this particular one, and it's because of liability insurance. So if you are a paid employee somewhere, your employer is paying for liability insurance should you get hurt. If when you sign up for classes, you're under the college's umbrella in case you should get hurt at the Child Development Center. So if you're not a paid employee, if you're a volunteer somewhere, You are not covered under any liability, and so that's a hard no. You must also be working with young children at least 20 hours a week. You'll go through all of these yourself, but I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up on some of the things to go ahead and get a jump start on. Everything, again, is due on Friday, January 20th at 5 p.m. Really start ahead of time because starting week 2, I need to start making like those red lines that go everywhere. That's like, oh, I need to do this and that, and how can we place this person here and that person there? It's really kind of a lot to work on. So I need as much time as I can to do that, and that'll all be week 2, and I'll send you an email via Canvas inbox of your placement time, and or if your work site will work for that particular for your lab hours. All right, so in addition to the online lab hours, you have one course assignment, which is an introductory post. Your initial post is due Friday the 20th, and then again, you'll respond to 3 classmates by the following Monday. Now, notice how replying to the classmates, this whole thing's worth 10 points, but replying to the classmates is worth 6 points. That's really where kind of the heart of this is, and that's really kind of the philosophy of the class, is getting to know each other and responding with each other. And so I really wanted to kind of emphasize that as you see that here. And then the last thing is our, sorry about that. The last thing is our class participation. This is when you come to our class Zoom meetings. It goes over the expectations of being together, of really participating. I highly encourage everyone to be on camera and like really the whole way through. Now that's not a requirement. I can't require you to be on camera, but especially when we break off into small groups, it really changes the dynamic. If everyone's off screen, you'll notice a lot of other people want to be off screen too because it feels a little uncomfortable, like who's watching me there. So we really invite everyone to be on camera. We do require that everyone's either on a laptop or a tablet, not on their cell phone doing the Zoom that way, because you will have to do some share outs or do some typing, and it's too hard to do it on the cell phone. So really, if students aren't fully engaging, there'll be some breakout groups. Sometimes there'll be some like private messages that you need to do. Sometimes there'll be some like quick little surveys or fun little things set up in there, and they're all to make sure that everyone's participating with each other. So if students are not participating, they can be removed from the class, from that particular Zoom session, and or they aren't awarded class participation points for that particular evening. So this also talks about if you miss a lab meeting, please contact another classmate for their notes rather than rely on me. And then finally, we do have a request for a note taker within this class. That would only be for the classroom lecture portions. I will offer all students, here I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. I offer students, let me see if I even have it on here actually. I offer students the lecture notes of my slides. Let me see if I have an example of that here. No, I can't, of course I can't find it off the top of my head right now. That's okay. After I do like Google Slides. After the class is over, often I have questions on there and I don't want you to like look ahead of time. But after the class is over, I will publish those and put them in Canvas within the module. So you don't need to write down, you wouldn't need to do note taking on anything that is in the slides, but maybe anything that I say or the conversation during that lecture portion, but you don't need to be a note taker during, the small group sessions, for example. So if anyone would like to volunteer to be a note taker, please let me know and I can get you in contact with DSPS. Go ahead and click on that actually. DSPS stands for Disability Services and Program for Students. Their phone number and email address and website are all located here. Um, and it's also where you might go if you feel like you might need certain accommodations, for example, having a note taker in a class. Um, I don't offer timed quizzes in this class, so just giving everyone a heads up on that. Um, but yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun semester. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of you. So, welcome to ECE 320, and it's going to be the best semester ever. Thank you.